Texas goes to the Little Apple this coming Saturday against Kansas State. Texas coming off a bye week, took a tough L in Stillwater, Oklahoma to Oklahoma State. Texas is a 2.5-point favorite. Yes, I said that correctly. Texas is favored in this football game, even after everything that happened a couple Saturdays ago. Kansas State, however, is flying high. That same Oklahoma State team that beat Texas, well, Kansas State pretty much just took them out back, gave them a good old-fashioned whooping. Without Adrian Martinez. Let me stress that. Without their stud quarterback, 9 a.m. So, for Texas, that bye came at the exact right time. Got to kind of hit the reset, got to find a chance to sort of reassess internally, get healthy where they need to get healthy. This is a very big game for them. This is a game where I think we get to see just how far along that culture is. Because that's something we continue to reassess, right? Hey, is this new Texas? Is this old Texas? This game will give us a good picture, in my humble opinion. For Kansas State, like we said, they dominated in Oklahoma State last week, 48-0. They're riding high, all right? They're feeling pretty good about themselves for good reason, for the kind of game that they played. Deuce Vaughn is a freak show. It sounds like Adrian Martinez will be, at this time, I would imagine a game-time decision again. Was a game-time decision last week. I don't know how that quarterback situation is going to be handled. We'll touch on that at the end. So the first question for me in this game, can Texas get off the mat? Because if you want to have one loss turn into another loss, that's kind of been the thing we've seen from them in previous years, right? It's been the snowball effect. You lose one game here, and then you kind of start to segment some parts of that locker room. The culture turns out that it actually is rotten, and you just get absolutely taken to school, right? Like, that's what we've seen from Texas. However, I tend to believe that Texas, from a Stars perspective at least, is the more talented program in this game. So Texas can win this game if they play to their caliber, if they play to their standard. But again, are you able to get up off the mat? Are you still thinking about Oklahoma State? Are you still pointing fingers about whose fault it was? And actually, I don't want to, hear what you have to say anymore. I'm going to do things my way. That's not the kind of formula that's going to win you football games, needless to say. Kansas State, on the flip side of things, from my estimation, they played really well as a unit. Played really complimentary football. Averaging or only giving up 20 points a game, so they're stingy on defense. They hold the ball on offense. Like we said, Deuce Vaughn, he's going to get a lot of touches. They're going to kind of dictate their tempo to you. They're going to play physical. That's who Kansas State is. So if Texas doesn't show up united, doesn't show up playing the kind of brand that they now expect in the new Texas, it's going to be a long day. So Texas getting up off the mat is a crucial hinge point in this game. Riffing on that, who plays more complementary football? Like we just said, Kansas State, they're going to be multiple in the run game, especially if they get Adrian Martinez. That whole read option game will be huge. Again, don't know if he's going to play yet at this point in time, but if they have that read option game working with whoever's at quarterback and Deuce Vaughn, good things happen. Because then you can't just key on one guy, right? Then you start to say, okay, do we have to commit to 22? Are we going after the quarterback? Who's it going to be? And you start guessing, and then that translates to big plays to Knowles. That translates to the explosive pass plays that start to hurt you. And I promise you, we'll set the Little Apple absolutely on fire. You want to avoid that. Also, the defense. Talking about complementary football, the defense wreaks havoc. They're averaging right around 2 takeaways a game. They can create havoc. They can create frustration for Texas and cash in and hold the ball and get 7 instead of 3. It's going to be a long day, so you want to avoid that. Talking about complementary football, that was one of the big pieces we talked about for Texas when they went to Stillwater. And they kind of teed it up for themselves. Bijan Robinson had over 100 yards against Oklahoma State. Quinn Ewers went a smooth 19 for 49. It's not a typo. That can't be the case for Texas because there was plays there. There was plays to be had. It wasn't all on Quinn Ewers. The wind was absolutely ridiculous. But if Bijan Robinson can turn in that kind of performance again, if he can have a good day on the ground yet again, after a bye week, he got to be rested, hit the ice bath, have the fresh legs. If he can turn in that kind of performance, you better not leave money on the table if you're Texas. Because you got guys that can take the top off the defense. Xavier Worthy being the main one. Jatavian Sanders over the middle has got to be a presence. Got to hit the plays that are available to you. If they can be complimentary in that sense, put the pressure back on Kansas State. So that's crucial for Texas if they want to have a chance to win this game. Final thing I'm looking at, how clean is this game? Because if it gets messy, like we talked about, Kansas State, they like to take the ball away. They do it pretty effectively. That puts the pressure back on Texas, right? Like we talked about, kind of a game of who puts the pressure on who. And if they're able to do that, well, then they can hold the ball. They can make Quinn Ewers watch. They can cause that Texas sideline to get frustrated, impose their will running the ball. The turnovers are going to be crucial. If it ends up being a clean game, well, then you're not talking so much about field position. You're talking about who can answer scores. And this Texas offense, regardless of what you saw in Stillwater, Oklahoma, they can put up points when they're on. Averaging right around, I believe it is 36 points a game. That'll be good enough, okay? Let me just stress that. That will be good enough for Texas if they bring their A game. But you got to keep it clean. Got to have a clean pocket for Ewers. Can't turn the ball over. Certainly can't do what you did against Oklahoma State in terms of giving the football away. I'm just curious to see how clean this game ends up being, because I think it pretty clearly favors either side depending on how the gameplay ends up being. So here's our prediction for this game. -2.5 Texas, huh? That line to me screams that somebody knows something. I don't like the spot for Kansas State after winning the game 48-0 last week. I think that emotions are high, potentially too high. And I think Texas actually plays with a chip on their shoulder. I think we see more proof this is a new Texas program under Steve Sarkisian. I think Quinn Ewers bounces back, and I think the explosive plays for Texas are ultimately too much for Kansas State. I think Texas wins this game. I think it's close. I think Texas wins this game 30-27. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.